Okay, welcome back to another episode of Third and 23. I'm your host, Alex, here to bring you another pick and prediction video in college football. We're talking week 14 of the college football season. Rivalry weekend. We're at the end of the season. Record is what it is, 42 and 38. It's basically 52 to 53% ATS accuracy. Last year did 59. Goal is 60%. Just couldn't do it. 3 and 3 over the last 5 weeks. I've gone 3 and 3 every single week. So you might as well call this 3 and 3 instead of third and 23, right? But it is what it is. By the way, it's Wednesday. I'm filming this video today because obviously it's Thanksgiving tomorrow and I'm going on vacation, actually flying out tonight. So I won't be around for the weekend to get updated injury reports. So just keep that in mind. I'm doing this without knowing the full injury landscape and making some assumptions. All right, so with that said, we've got 8 games on tap for you in this one. Let's see if we can at least finish the regular season over 500. All right, so let's get into it. Starting off with the game of the day, college game day in town. We've got Ohio State visiting Michigan. Interesting thing to note in this game, the line opened at 12.5 and quickly shot down to 10. So Sharps and whoever else quickly jumped in there and grabbed that plus 12.5 in the Michigan Wolverines. Michigan is at home in this game. They're saying there's likely snow in this game. Now, how much are we talking about? Are we talking about sticking to the ground, blizzard type conditions, or are we talking about just some flurries, as they say? So, one thing I see in this game, in this matchup, line of scrimmage. Ohio State, I've talked about them before. 56th in the country rushing the football. James Peoples, Bo Jackson, C.J. Donaldson. It's just not an impressive running back room to me. Ohio State has had much better running backs in the past. You can just, as recent as last year, you got 2 guys who are basically starters in the NFL right now. I don't see future NFL starters in this group. Maybe you do, but I don't see that. And then they're going against the 11th ranked rush defense in the country. Michigan is legit. Ohio State hasn't really seen a run defense like this all year outside of Texas in the opener. So they're going against a legitimate rush defense. So I think in this game, there are going to be times where you see Michigan dominating a line of scrimmage defensively. Now you flip it. Michigan, they're going to be without Justice Haynes, as you guys might have heard or might not have heard. Justice Haynes, one of the best running backs in the country. He is out. He missed last couple weeks, I believe. And he's going to, I think, miss the rest of the season, including the bowl game. Jordan Marshall, the backup, missed last week. But before that, he had 4 straight 100-yard rushing games. So Jordan Marshall is a good back. He's a good backup running back. Probably started at a lot of schools. Really good football player. He says that he's going to play in this game. So we're going to assume that Jordan Marshall is playing in this game. He's going to have to go against the number 2 ranked run defense in the country in Ohio State. So you say, number 2 ranked run defense, Ohio State's really like that on the line of scrimmage. The best rush offense Ohio State has faced this year is Washington, who's 57th. Jonah Coleman in that game went 13 carries for 70 yards. They went away from it because they were trailing and they have to pass in this ball in the second half. Not a big enough sample size. Well, Texas went for 160 in the opener, and Texas doesn't even have running backs that compare to Jordan Marshall in this Michigan running game. So again, for me, I see a game where at times you're going to see Michigan dominate the line of scrimmage on the offensive side of football. Now, when you have an underdog and that underdog can own the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, at least for portions of the game, man, you got yourself an opportunity to be upset or a tighter game, a close game. And then we throw in the fact that Michigan's won 4 in a row. This is in Ohio State's head. So Ohio State is coming in, obviously want to end the streak. They're thinking about this game. They hate Michigan. You had the brawl of last season. They're thinking about that. Michigan's going to come into this game similar as they came in last year when they went to Columbus without a care in the world. They already know what it is, right? They did last year's game. Michigan was 6-5. This year, Michigan has a better record, but they're not going to the college football playoff or anything like that. So they're going in this just for a better bowl bid, but obviously to beat their rival. But they're playing free is what I mean. They don't have the pressure. They've won 4 in a row. Ohio State's lost 4 in a row. So that's big in this game. For Ohio State, you've got Julian Sain top 5 in most of the passing metrics, having a phenomenal year. Michigan's pass defense, 29th in the country in yards per attempt, 31st in EPA. So a solid pass defense, but you would think not a pass defense that could really contain Julian Sain. The thing is, take a look at Julian Sain and who he's gone against this year. The Ohio State schedule is not flush with a who's who of defensive backs. And you can go in the opener in Texas and see Julian Sayin didn't do much in that game. Now, I don't put a lot of weight on week one like other people do. Hashtag Miami Notre Dame. Because I don't think there's no preseason in college football, so I don't put that much weight on it. And Julian Sayin then is certainly not the same Julian Sayin as he is today. But I'm just saying this is going to be a tougher matchup for him in this game. So with all that said, with the game that I think Michigan is going to have moments in this game where they dominate the line of scrimmage, I think you're looking at a hard-fought game. I'm not saying Michigan's going to win, but give me the Michigan. I'm going to catch it with the Sharks at plus 12.5 in this game. All right, moving on to the next game. We've got Oregon visiting the Washington Huskies. Oregon comes into this game as a 6.5-point favorite in this one. Its line has dropped. A lot of people probably feeling Washington. Last time we saw Oregon on the road, it was kind of dicey against Iowa. When I look at this game, though, Dante Moore, the storyline with Oregon is the passing game, right? Dante Moore is doing it. He's still moving the ball through the air. He's 257 yards and 2 touchdowns last week against USC, and that's without his wide receivers. So he's doing it without them. He's doing it with Malik Benson, who's stepped up last week. He's doing it with Kenya City, one of the better tight ends in the country. He's doing it with the backup tight end. He's doing it throwing out to the running back. So he's still manufacturing the passing game, and that should be something that you'll see continue in this game. Washington Huskies, number 53 ranked pass defense. So there's going to be opportunities for the pass the ball. Now is the Oregon offense going to have balance? The 9th ranked rush offense in the country. Washington, the 13th ranked rush defense in the country. So you say, oh, well, maybe not have balance, right? Well, Oregon might be running into a brick wall. Got to take a closer look. Yeah, got to remember, in the Big Ten, there's a lot of weak teams, so there's a lot of stat padding going on. Teams that can run the ball have run the ball against Washington. Michigan, great running game, ran the ball for 187 yards against Washington. Ohio State, not really a great running game, but they ran for 149 yards against Washington. Oregon is in that Michigan tier in terms of running the ball. They're going to be able to run the ball in this game. So to me, Oregon's going to have balance in this game. And now you have, to be noted, on the Washington side, 2 of their stars, Jonah Coleman and Denzel Boston, are both questionable and both have missed time in the last 2 weeks. Are they going to play? That's something you want to tune into probably on Friday. It'll be too late for me, but tune into to see if they're going to play. But you're going against one of the top pass defenses in the country. So I look at Washington and I say, I don't think they're going to have the balance that Oregon's going to have. I don't think Damon Williams is going to have success passing the ball against this Oregon secondary. I just call it what it is. His numbers look good, but I just don't think watching him on film, the film doesn't match the stats in my opinion. I just don't think he's that guy. So because of that, go ahead and give me Oregon. I'm going to lay the 6.5 on the road. I think they're going to be able to run the ball in this game. And you're going to see Dante Moore to continue to produce despite the fact that he's missing his top guys. Moving on to the next game, we've got the Alabama Crimson Tide visiting the Auburn Tigers. Alabama, they're playing for a spot to ensure they get a spot in the college football playoff. Alabama loses this game, you can make a very good argument that they're not going to be in the CFP. So they need this one. Auburn, they're ready to find out who their next head coach is. They're trying to get to the end of the season. But that doesn't mean they're not going to try in this Iron Bowl, and I believe that they are. I think DJ Durkin, the interim coach, is going to have these guys ready to go. So, to me, kind of similar to how I talked about in Ohio State, Michigan, line of scrimmage. When you got an underdog, if they can dominate the line of scrimmage, that's how underdogs, get wins. That's how they keep games close, because they keep the other team's offense off the field. I look at this. Auburn, they average 4.4 yards a carry. In terms of yards per game, they don't rank that high because they're usually trailing, so they're having to throw the ball to try to catch up. But 4.4 yards per carry, they do have good running backs. Alabama's run defense has been weak all season, and they give up 5 yards per carry on the ground. So this is a game, I see Auburn, they're going to be able to run the football in this game. Flip side of that, Alabama can't run the ball. Just a really bad running back room, 117th in the country rushing the football. Auburn is 11th in the country against the run. This is a legit run defense. Alabama's not running the ball in this game, so now they're talking about a one-dimensional attack. Ty Simpson to Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard has been a great one-dimension, though, one of the top passing attacks in the country. Auburn's pass defense is struggling this season. So, you're going to see Bama hit some haymakers, hit some plays over the top, make some plays downfield to get points on the board. But again, I think Auburn is going to have moments where they're dominating the time of possession. They're dominating the line of scrimmage. So Auburn's going toe-to-toe, I think, with Alabama in this game. And finally, to be noted, something I said back in the preseason, you can find a preseason video that I did, Ashton Daniels finally is the starter. He's slated to start. He started the game against Vanderbilt. They lost in overtime 45-38, but he threw for 350 and 2 touchdowns. I said all offseason he's better than Jackson Arnold, and that's what got Hugh Freeze fired, by the way, starting the wrong quarterback. He can cook, and Bama's pass defense is top 20 across the board. So this isn't going to be a situation where Bama's just going to be erase the Auburn passing game. I think that Ashton Daniels and these Auburn receivers are going to be dangerous enough to contend with these Bama corners. I don't know if Auburn's going to win this game outright. I'm not saying I would do a money line in this game, but give me Auburn with the +6. Jordan Hare at night in a game I think they're going to be able to dominate the line of scrimmage is dangerous for an upset. So look out for that. All right. Next game, Georgia visiting Georgia Tech. Georgia, 13.5-point favorite. I've been checking lines. This has been going up to 14, by the way, so people are all in on Georgia. First thing I want to talk about is Georgia Tech even in it? Are they in the game? They had everything on the line last week, at home, at night, against Pitt. Win the game. You go to the ACC championship game, and then you win that. You're in the college football playoff, right? Everything on the line, and Pitt jumps out to a 28-0 lead in like the first 20 minutes of the game or so. They try to fight back, but they lose 42-28. Do they have enough left in the tank? That's a crazy emotional, game they're going to come off of. Yes, this is your rival, but now you got to pick up and play your rival, who's one of the top 5 teams in the country, already going to go to the college football playoff, and looking at you like blood in the water for a shark. I don't know. I don't know if Georgia Tech is going to be all the way there. I'm sure Haynes King doesn't want to go out with a loss in his final game against his rival. He wants to end the streak. Georgia's won, I believe, 8 in a row or so in this rivalry. So he wants to end it. But I just don't know if Georgia Tech is all the way there. We look at this game, what's going to really decide it for me is the running game. Georgia's 29th in the country running the football. Georgia Tech 95th. You saw it last week against Pitt. Pitt's backup running back went for 200. Georgia, they use a lot of different parts to run the football, including quarterback Gunnar Stockton, but they're running the ball against Georgia Tech. They're going to move the ball on the ground. They're controlling the clock. I think they're going to be the much more physical team. I think they're going to hit Georgia Tech in the mouth all game in this one, and I think they're going to beat these guys in a submission. And if Georgia gets up early, 2 touchdowns, up 17, something like that, I could see them pulling away, easily covering this 13.5, because I think Georgia Tech might fold in the second half if the lead stretches in this one. So Jimmy Georgia laying the 13.5. Okay, moving on to the next game. We've got Clemson Tigers visiting the South Carolina Gamecocks. Went from 2 to 2.5, so I guess some people jumped in on South Carolina. For me, I'm looking at this game. This is a game of 2 teams going in opposite directions, right? You got Clemson, you can make an argument, should be on a 7-game winning streak. Or could be on a 7-game winning streak. They played SMU and lost at home, but they had the backup quarterback in. And then they lost to Clemson in one of the biggest referee robberies of the season. It's outlandish what happened in that game. Without that, we're talking about a 7-game winning streak for the Clemson Tigers. The point I'm making is Clemson, the players, they're still playing for Dabo. They're still trying. They're still playing hard, despite the fact this is a disappointing season for Clemson. South Carolina, they've lost 5 straight games till they played Coastal Carolina last week. So where's their head at? Is Shane Beamer staying in South Carolina? I mean, I think so, but is Lenore Sellers staying in South Carolina? You guys seen in social media, there's a lot of talk that he's hitting the portal. So I don't know if that's true or not, but these are 2 teams going in opposite directions. Now I look at this matchup, I see the pass rush is going to be huge in this game. The sack rate for Clemson, 26th in the country. 73rd in pressure rate, that's middle of the pack or so. But you're going against South Carolina. Pressure rate against Lenore Sellers this year, 132nd in the country. Everybody's getting heat on Lenore Sellers. Clemson's going to get heat on Lenore Sellers. They got NFL guys in the front 7. Sack rate, 137th. They're not just going to get heat on Lenore Sellers. They're going to sack Lenore Sellers. So he's going to get sacked a lot in this game. I think that's going to kill a lot of drives for South Carolina. So really it's about, is Clemson going to take opportunities of those drives that get ended by their defense, right? Are they going to take opportunities getting that ball back and putting points on the board? Cade Klubnik, been pretty average this year, 49th in yard per attempt, 41st in EPA, 18th in completion percentage. And they're going against a pass defense that's basically similar to them, 41st in completion, 53rd in yards per attempt, right? So it's pretty much a wash, but there is no pass rush coming out of South Carolina, which is crazy to say considering the ends that they do have. So I think you're going to see Cade Klubnik have time, probably put up some average numbers, be able to move the ball down the field, and put points on the board. I do think this is going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a tight game, but I think Clemson is what they call a live dog. I think Clemson goes into South Carolina. Go ahead for this video, give me the +2.5, but I'm probably going to money line this. I think Clemson goes in there and wins this game because I think South Carolina offensively is doing nothing. I think Norris is running for his life. I think there's no running game, and Clemson does enough to put points on the board and win this game on the road in the Palmetto. What is it called? The Palmetto Rivalry. Moving on to the next game. We got Virginia Tech visiting Virginia, Commonwealth Cup, Battle of VA. You got the Virginia Tech Hokies, who have dominated this series. In the last 20 years, they've won 19 of them. 19-1 in the last 20 years in this series. Currently on a 5-game winning streak, I believe. 5 or 4-game winning streak. But this year is different than many of those. A lot of those UVA teams were pretty bad. Virginia Tech was pretty solid. This year's reverse. Virginia Tech is pretty bad. They're one of the worst. The big issue with Virginia Tech is clear. They, out of the 4 phases of the game in terms of pass offense, pass defense, run defense, they do 3 of those 4 terribly. Pass defense, one of the worst in the country. Pass offense with Kyron Drones, one of the worst in the country. Run defense, not really any good. But they are on a burner running the football. They ran the ball against Miami last week really well. That said, they ran for 170 against a top 15 type run defense in the Miami Hurricanes last week. 170 in the first half. They ended the game with 194. So, Virginia, they're missing Cam Robinson at linebacker. I don't want to say probably, but he was one of the favorites to win the ACC Defensive Player of the Year award. So that's a tough loss at linebacker. But still, this is a solid team. They're basically average or solid in basically all metrics. Chandler Morris has been efficient quarterback, nothing spectacular. They're a solid running game. They're a solid passing defense, solid against the run, but they have everything to play for in this game. Win, and you're in the ACC championship game. Virginia Tech, they're just waiting to start the James Franklin era. He's already out there recruiting, flipping recruits. They're just waiting for this game to get Philip Montgomery out the door and get James Franklin in the door. He's probably waiting outside right now, just waiting, checking his watch, right? So I don't think Virginia Tech is coming in this game with let's keep the streak alive in this one. I don't think they're coming into this game like that at all. I think they're going to go into this game the same way they've been all year. They're losing to pretty much everybody with a pulse. They're losing by 20 plus. Let's do it again. Virginia laying the 9.5. Their offense is good enough. Their defense is good enough to move the ball on Virginia Tech and to shut down Virginia Tech's passing game to cover this 9.5. All right, let's move on to the next game. We've got Miami visiting the Pitt Panthers. Miami got a lot to play for here. Miami still has a chance to make the college football playoff. Miami actually has a chance to make the ACC championship game, but they have to have a lot of craziness happen, right? So it's really about, do they get an at-large for the college football playoff? If you want to get that, you got to make a statement in this game in Pitt. It's going to be cold in Pittsburgh, so Miami's got to, they got to travel to the cold. Can they perform? But they performed against Virginia Tech last week in the cold. However, it was 34-17, but they scored a touchdown at the end of the game. It was 27-17 against Virginia Tech. That's not so impressive, right? So we look at this game. It's about Miami's defense against the Pitt offense. You got the 9th-ranked run defense in the country going against a Pitt Panther rush offense that's not really that great. But last week, Jacarian Turner ran for 201 against Georgia Tech. Now, Georgia Tech doesn't have a defense, though. So is that going to happen in this game against Miami? Virginia Tech ran against Miami last week in the first half, but then they made adjustments in the second half, and that was all she wrote. I think you're going to see a lot more of that. I think you're going to see Turner come back to life. I don't think you're going to see him be able to run the rock in this game against the Canes. So now it's about Mason Heinschel. He's having a good year for a true freshman. They're putting up points, but it's inconsistent. They were putting up points against weaker defenses, weaker teams. They go against Notre Dame and they lose 37-15, and let's call it what it is. They scored a touchdown on the very last play of the game, 37-15 final. Heinschel and Notre Dame, they allowed 41 points. They were completely shut down by Notre Dame, and on the season, they've allowed 41.7% pressure rate. That's 125th in the country. Going against Ruben Bain and Akeem Messidor. So now you don't got any balance running the rock. And now you got to watch out for the pass rush coming off the edges because you're not really blocking anybody. So this is a game I don't see Heinschel, making some plays out of the pocket, hitting some passes downfield. I don't see that happening in this one. So I think Miami's defense is going to completely shut down the Pitt Panthers. I know the cold weather kind of it scares me a little bit too, but I just think they're going to completely shut them down. You got Mark Fletcher returning from injury, supposed to be back, so I'm assuming he is returning from injury. He was averaging 5 yards per carry before he got hurt. Pitt's got a legit run defense though. That's 12th in the country, so that could be a stalemate. But Carson Beck has been efficient this year, passing the ball pretty much in every game, maybe outside of the Louisville game. Pitt is all right on defense in terms of pass defense. They're solid. I don't think Miami's going to blow the doors off these guys, but to win by a touchdown with CFP still on the table, with a defense that's going to be able to shut down the Pitt Panthers offense and an offense that is pretty efficient in their short game to move the ball down the field. Go ahead and give me Miami. I'm going to lay the 6.5 on the road. I don't know if they make the college football playoff, but I think they win this game. All right, moving on to the final game. We've got the UCLA Bruins visiting the USC Trojans. The game a lot of people don't pay attention to. You know, it's the battle for LA. UCLA, horrible football team, right? Fired their coach way back in week 3 or week 4. They went on a little run there, won 3 straight, but there's a lot of context behind those 3 wins they had, like the Penn State game. That was a dead team after losing to Oregon, right? They've come back down to earth. You know, they lost by 50 to Indiana, for example. They lost some other games by blowouts. They got crushed by Ohio State. UCLA's being exposed, right, for what they are. A team without a lot of talent. A team that's waiting to find out who their next head coach is. I thought I heard it mentioned, but I could be mistaken there. Who's going to be their next head coach? And they're just trying to get to the end of the season. And how much bad blood is there really in this rivalry game? You don't really hear too much on the UCLA USC rivalry, right? So then you talk health in this game. Is Nico going to play a quarterback? He's ruled questionable as of now Wednesday, right? So it's something you want to tune into if you're interested in this game. The backup, Luke Duncan, he started the Ohio State game. He had an average depth of target of 3. So I don't think so, right? I don't think that's going to happen for him against USC. USC obviously doesn't have as good a defense as Ohio State, but they're certainly good enough to shut down Luke Duncan. This is also the worst pass rush in America, 136th, dead last in pressure, 135th in sack rate. That's second to last in sack rate. So now you got Jaden Maueva, who's already 5th nationally under pressure, but he's not even going to see any pressure. He's top 5 in basically all pass metrics. He's going to have a field day in this game. So I look at this. I don't see any way USC can't cover 21. I don't see any way this game is close by halftime. Then you're going to have balance with the running game. King Miller, he was hot till the Oregon game. Oregon, great defense, but 339 yards rushing and 6.5 yards per carry before the Oregon game against the 124th ranked rush defense. So there's nothing UCLA can do in this game, I think, to stop the USC offense. You know, you can make the argument USC should score every drive. So go ahead and give me USC. I mean, that's not gonna happen, but give me USC. I'm gonna lay to 21. This should be an evisceration. So, anyways, that wraps it up. 8 games for you in this video. I'm flying out in a few hours, or I'm headed to the airport in a few hours. So I'm going to be going all next week. So I am not going to have a championship week video. So I'm not going to be around for the championship games. It is what it is. I'm going to be out of town. I do come back that Saturday. I land about that Saturday afternoon, next Saturday afternoon. So, but I will still have college football. I don't do bowl games, but I do college football playoff videos. So stay tuned for that. And if you like the content, please like, comment, subscribe, all of that. And you're going to see more college football and then, of course, my NFL videos as well. Take care.